This conference will now be recorded.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to our December chat where we're going to talk about the rule revision that just came out a couple weeks ago. We've got Eric's on board to help us, and Margaret's on board. Two members of the competition standards meeting with me. Eric's co-chairing. Monica will be along, I hope, in a minute to help. She had a lot to offer in the rules coming from the competition services side of the equation. So I think our goal tonight is really just to review some of the major things that got changed and why they got changed. And I will kind of roll with it. And Eric and Margaret, you want to pop in whenever. You just
Okay.
jump right in, okay?
Thank you.
All right. All right. So what kind of things happened? This is one of the first one. I was actually going to toss this over to Monica. A lot of the changes that were that came out this year, almost all of them came out of things that we were finding where we were finding issues with the judging, the video judging, what we could see, what we could do. And then as we were judging more, what we're finding is where we find something where it's inconsistent. It's like, wow, we're having to charge something really major for this and nothing for that. And it doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem, so a lot of this was just trying to make things, refining the rules and make them, I think, fair for everybody. So with video titling, the only real changes that happened is we did change the video name requirements. We had some very specific requirements in the rules about exactly how the title of the video had to be labeled in YouTube or Vimeo. And we've reduced that to suggestions. When the naming rules first came out, I think they were set that way with the idea that we would actually be going out and trying to find these videos. And so we wanted really specific titles. And the reality is you send us the video link when you submit the form. So we don't have to find anything. So it just seems silly to be kicking back videos because they weren't titled correctly when it wasn't something we even needed. So we relaxed that. We changed, one of the things we had in the rules was that in the video titling, the handler or somebody else ringside had to make the calls in a game like a judge would do. Things like go when ready, entering the field or enter the field now, time, wrong ball. And what we realized is it just wasn't so important to us as we're judging. We could it seemed, for anybody who submitted videos, it probably seemed very silly to walk out on the field and say, I am ready. Or say, go and ready. And you're looking around like, and it's only me. Who else? What else would be happening? So it was really kind of artificial. And same for calling time as when we are judging. When that dog goes down and all the balls are in and that dog goes down, I don't care if you wait 30 seconds before you say time. I'm going to judge it from the moment I see that dog go down. And you know, same for wrong ball. If you throw a wrong ball back out, you don't have to shout wrong ball first. It's pretty clear. You threw the ball out of the goal. Must have been wrong ball. So those calls are not required anymore for video titling, and we hope that makes it easier for everybody. We just had one came up on Facebook, and somebody was worried because they downed their dog and the dog got back up, and they called time, and the dog got back up, and they downed the dog again and called time again. And it's like, yeah, don't worry. The first time the dog downed, I really don't care what you said. That's the point we'll take for judging. So we go off of what we see, not what we hear you call for a game. So hopefully that'll make everybody comfortable. And for you guys does that make sense to everybody that, you know, why we did that and what it means for you when you're playing? Y'all good with that? Good. And then the last one we did for video titling is we gave judges the ability to give faults for minor video issues that wouldn't happen in a trial. instead of needing to throw the video out. An example of that was, oh, I'm trying to think, what was one? One just came up recently, Eric. I don't know if you remember it. We had one where a dog, they didn't down fully inside the box. The dog was down, but they clearly weren't completely within the handler goal area. And the handler called time, put on their leash, walked out. That would never happen in a trial. Either the judge just wouldn't call time, so the handler would figure out, there's a problem, I got to move my dog, or the judge might even say, you got to move your dog. It's, might even give the clue that can't call time, can't stop the run because your dog's not in the box. Technically, in the past, we've always run on, boy, if we don't have a rule for it and it wouldn't happen in a trial, that run gets thrown out. And we found it was much more important. Let's just give a minor fault, give some fault points, and include that run, because it's not something that would happen at a trial. And consequently, we just don't have rules for all of these things, how to handle it. It's given us a little freedom to handle things that are not game changing. It's not the same as something that would change the nature of the game or give somebody some incredible leeway that they wouldn't normally have. Okay, does that make sense for everybody? What we're doing there, why we're doing it? Okay. Anybody have any questions about that stuff?
Nope.
Chris, would you still prefer that people called go and ready or time, or is that just going away?
So I think it might be, if I think from a training standpoint, might I go ahead and do it? Yeah, I'd probably still go ahead and do it, or have somebody do it. If nothing else, to get the dog used to the idea that, somebody might be around here yelling. I think if you're comfortable, do it. If you miscall something, though, don't freak about it. One of the things they'll do is, if you go ahead and call it, the one advantage of that is it gives us an idea of what you're thinking. And I have certainly given feedback before to people that, hey, I know this is what you said. And usually people are much harsher on their runs than what the reality is for judging. And people will call things and do things. And in my judge feedback is like, I know you said this, or I know you did this, but the reality is you were fine, or that ball nothing had to happen to that ball. It was fine. It wasn't a wrong ball. Or, I know you called time after the dog had been down for 10 seconds. And people put that on. Sometimes people put that, run time was, 1 minute, 30 seconds. And I'll actually, no, your run time was quite a bit shorter, so I will give feedback. And so it's nice if people want to do that, because then I can give that feedback, or any of the judges can say, things are, and this is usually the way it goes, things are not as bad as what you think. It's a lot better. So, and that's the way the judging usually goes. So it can help. But you shouldn't feel constrained.
I would add on, and I would just say, it's probably more applicable in a live trial situation. When you're talking about judges, you're talking about multiple people coming. Someone might want to be waiting for the judge to say go and ready to make sure everything's being judged. But it shouldn't necessarily affect the judging itself if it comes to, say, virtual judging and stuff like that. When the time stops, the time stops. When the time starts, the time starts. But I would say from a training perspective, you should always get your dog used to it, just for live trial scenarios, when we can all, step outside in the world again.
Exactly.
Well, I'm thinking also from the human standpoint to get,
absolutely,
for us not to forget if we get to a live trial that we need to wait for that.
Yeah. So train for it, even though we don't know when it's happening. Yeah.
Exactly, because, and get the human and the dog, because live trial, it is going to happen. Those things are going to be very much in play. So Yep.
Yeah.
Good question. Okay. So I didn't put this in the summary sheet that we posted on the web and distributed to everybody. We did make some changes to the trial arrangements. It won't affect anybody until the time comes to have a trial, but we, in our area, we did a little mock trial, and we realized some things that going through that were important. Things like, we removed the rosette requirement for ribbons because it's just cost prohibitive. We removed the need for a vet letter to get refund if you have a bitch going season. A big one, really, if we have a live trial, the host is going to provide the warm-up balls. The previous rules, believe it or not, everybody was supposed to provide their own warm-up balls. And if you really think about running a trial, that's insane. That everybody's going to be, maybe not for you guys with little dogs, but all those people with big dogs walking around with all these balls trying to get to the ring, back and forth to the warm-up ring, it's kind of crazy. So we switched that. And then judge will decide when the pre-novice classes run, just based on how things are. We clarified that the placements are for each height class within each division. That was actually not spelled out well in the rules. And when I brought it up, we sat at the board meeting going, yeah, I think that's the way it is, but we couldn't find it in the rules. So we made it clear. So like I say, not much that's going to probably impact anybody until it's time for a trial, but some little things just that went on. Okay. All right. Derek, you want to take this one? Oh wait, Eric's, there we go.
What? No, I have stuff
one?
going on in the background. Where are we at?
The
Yeah.
game changes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's simple enough. I mean, pretty straightforward. In the overall grand scheme of 2020, the master's level has been renamed to expert level. Right. So that's pretty self-explanatory, really. The next one there. So okay, on pre-novice standard, that one's good too. So obviously, you see that there's been a little bit of change to the pre-novice level. We've taken it away from the 1 ball and put it to the 3 balls for multiple reasons as we've gone back and forth. Given the dogs a little extra room between the balls, which should allow a directional off that point ball. Among other reasons, putting the point ball closer, which actually will bring pre-novice a little bit more in lines with the actual gameplay of Treibball. While the 1 ball thing was great when we were doing the 3-second wait, that really grow out and wait and bring the ball back. Now that we don't necessarily have to wait for that specific amount of time, just bringing back that point ball. That 1 ball thing kind of aligns a little bit more with our skills certification program as well, right? The skills certification is, I mean, if you want to use a ball, is awesome. There's 3 levels to go out and line up on a ball or a cone or frankly anything you want.
Fundamental to every structure. To build a house, you need a strong foundation. The same
Yeah.
is true. Black home.
Right. Yeah, and putting the 1, so there's multiple levels to this, right? But putting the 1 ball more in lines with the skill certification and the 3 balls more in line with the game itself as well will also help us push people to the skill certification program. We do have to help separate those and push those as 2 independent programs. So being able to have the push, the go out and line up and being able to switch between obstacles really aligns with that, while we can bring this back more in line. And with the width on the balls, it really still helps the pre-novice people. So does it, any questions on that? Well, let me just throw in there with the advanced B and O formation, and then I'll come back and we'll get questions all the way around. But you can see that we've also changed the balls in order, the formation on the advanced balls in order. What we found is you'll see the old balls in order has 4 balls in a line, right? All 4 straight away. Well, as soon as the dog hits that first ball and that creates the friction, right? And then it hits the second one, it really creates a dynamic that sends balls the wrong direction. It doesn't allow them or help them bring that point ball back. It actually becomes quite a hindrance. So if you kind of see on the right hand where if they'll go out and they hit that point ball, the next two balls behind it scatter, keeping that point ball still in line, right? Allowing the dog a lot more success to kind of bring that straight ball back, and not create the dynamic that was creating a lot of frustration, especially when you have a lighter pushers and small dogs. They hit that first ball, that ball hits the second, that ball hits the third, and they can't get the ball to go anywhere, right? So we're not trying to turn dogs off of this game. We want more and more people to play it. So we're just adapting. So does that make sense to everybody? Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, we really saw in the what we really felt happen. So what would happen in that advanced formation is a lot of times the point ball would run into that second row, and then the point ball and one of those side balls would shear off, and often, very often, they were left with this clump of balls still there. Which, okay, granted, the dog should be able to handle it, but if you look, the difference between our new advanced formation and the expert level is we just add one more ball to that formation. We were seeing people have a lot more success at what's now the expert level than the advanced level, and we figured out, wow, this is wrong. The step between intermediate and advanced was too hard, and we saw a lot of dogs break down. They would get so frustrated, and so with the handlers trying to get the dogs directed, a lot of times they had to pick balls out of still a clump of balls, and there was so much frustration. Dogs would break down, and it was just it was wrong to have a step between intermediate and advanced that was so big. And the reality is that dog could have gone up and done the expert level and probably been just fine. So we really wanted to make more stepwise skills. So, all right, any questions? Okay. Ooh, Margaret, you want me to pick on you, or you want me to do this one?
Let me see the slide first.
Oh yeah, I forget. I forget it takes a while. I flip the slide and it's like, oh yeah, now you know. This might be confusing.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, okay, the first one, point where the ball touches the ground determines the location of the ball. I don't know if that's so much of a change, just a definite clarification of when the ball has made it into the goal or into wherever it needs to be. And we're not judging by the front edge of the ball. It's actually where the ball, touches the ground. Bumper in the goal must be at least 2.5 feet from the goal line. The bumper was added to help keep the balls from rolling back out of the goal. It's a little bit of an aid, and the 2.5 feet is just a nice space that accommodates all the different sizes of balls we have. So it should be possible to get all 8 of the huge balls in, and they should all stay. Handler may only touch the ball to move it from the handler area to the goal area. I think that's again sort of a clarification. We had some people that were like reaching out of the handler's box to, I guess they anticipate, like an example would be they anticipated the ball was the wrong ball coming in on balls in order. So they would reach out, grab it before it made it into the handler's box, before it ever became the wrong ball, and then they would go ahead and roll it back out. So this just makes it very specific about when the handler can touch the ball and get it to where it needs to be.
Yeah, that the point where the ball touches the ground, because we used to judge the widest point, and that set us up to need very specific camera angles, and for that matter, for live trial, it meant we'd have judges standing in very specific points to decide whether the ball was in the box or out of the box, or can they touch the ball now or not? Is it in the goal, out of the goal? It created a lot of problems, and we saw it on video, but when we try to look at it in the live situation too, it's like judge could only stand in one very specific place to make these determinations. And I've already had a run come in where I judged it, and it was so nice to be able to just look at that point where the ball's touching the ground and decide whether the handler, could touch it yet. And it was like, oh yeah, this is so much easier. If I would have had to gone back and watch that video so many times to make sure the handler didn't touch it too soon. It made a big difference for judging. And that's what, same, the bumper is about also for B&O. We originally had allowed the bumper to be right at the goal line. Well, now it could prevent a wrong ball from rolling into the goal. It's like, oh, wait. We can't be doing that. So.
Too much help.
Hey, Chris,
Huh?
on that second bullet about the bumper, the editor and me remembered, and I just checked a second ago, I believe the cheat sheet that you sent out with the rule changes says 2 feet as opposed to 2.5 feet.
I will write that down. That needs to be fixed. That's a problem. Thank you, Sandy.
You're welcome.
So on that quick, we're talking on the quick, or that summary sheet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I will fix that.
Yes,
no
the
good.
summary sheet.
No good at all. Okay. All right. And just a little side.
Oh,
So
Chris, one other thing I noticed on that summary sheet is that towards the end of it, you're still referring to masters.
I caught
Expert
that.
as masters.
I caught that today when I was, or yesterday when I was putting this together. It's like, why did I say master? That's not supposed to be. So that has to be fixed too. And this is just a little tidbit. The handler only being able to touch the ball to move it in from the handler area to the goal area. That was also put in to help people. We had rules about blocking. Can't block the ball going into the goal if it's a wrong ball. Plus, we had people who were in the handler area and they'd grab a ball and roll it out. And whether it was a moving ball or a stationary ball. And the side piece is, it's not a wrong ball until it goes in the goal. And so we'd have people picking up balls and rolling them back on the field, and they weren't a wrong ball yet. A ball that stopped in the handler area is that's all it is. It's stopped in the handler area. So we thought this might also help. It helps from the judging standpoint, but also for the handler to realize, don't touch that ball unless you're putting it into the goal. So we're hoping that helps people out on that standpoint too. Okay. Okay, this is where things get we had a lot of wrong ball issues in trying to judge them, and so we're really hoping that we can fix some of the rules. Some of it's just getting it stated better. Some of it is it will change things a little bit how it's played. So we're hoping this helps everybody. We found a lot of times when we were judging the balls in order, especially when it gets to the higher levels and there's a lot more balls to worry about. We're often stuck. We're judging it's going, wow, I don't know what just happened there. So this is what we're hoping will clarify it for everybody. So the way it's going to work now is after the point ball is in and pinned, any ball which comes into the goal out of order will be a wrong ball with faults. The judge is going to call wrong ball as soon as it happens. So, and that will basically stop action on the field, not the time, but the action. And this kind of goes back to when we were talking about, do you want to make your own calls when you're video titling? This is one, the wrong ball is probably a good idea to continue. We're going to judge what we see, but this might be a particular one to continue to practice. But as soon as the ball comes in, the judge calls the wrong ball, which stops actions, which means the dog needs, if they've gone out and they've started pushing again, or they're somewhere on the field, the dog needs to stop pushing. You can either have them lie down on the field, or you can have them come in near you and lie down. The wrong ball and any balls that rolled into it after it must be rolled back onto the field the correct distance. And it's only one wrong ball call, even if multiple balls come in. And we did see this. A wrong ball would come in and it'd get called, but the dog was meanwhile bringing in more balls. And so we were set, well, what's that ball? We've got a wrong ball in here now, but the next one the dog brought in was correct. So we decided it was much easier to make it such that once a wrong ball comes in, anything that comes after it has to go back on the field. And that, I think, is going to make it much clearer for everybody how things need to be handled. And then the reminder that only balls in the goal can be wrong balls. A ball that stops in the handler box is not a wrong ball. So don't roll it back on the field. And I know that's one that's stymied many of us. I've been playing the game and standing there, and oh my gosh, that ball is not the correct one. And it gets in the handler box, and I even froze. It's like, what do I do? What do I do? Well, nothing is the correct answer. It's not a wrong ball yet. It's just hanging out in that box. So hopefully that will help people. Anybody have any questions about that? Either how it's different or how you think it might be, you know, how it's going to impact your understanding of the game.
I think it makes it simpler.
Yeah, I mean that's the goal, to make it easier to judge, easier to play, easier to know what to do when you're standing out on that field trying to negotiate 6, 8, 9 balls and figure things out. Okay. All right. Point ball. You want to do this one, Eric? Might have lost Eric. He's moving. All right. So the point ball. He's back.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. I was talking, I was just muted. So yeah, very straightforward. Obviously, we're trying to simplify most of our rules just to make them easier for clarification purposes. But on this one, what we're talking about is the dog pushing the point ball or any ball besides the point ball, and the clarifications on that. So from this ball, from this point, what we're talking about, obviously in every game, they need to go out to that point ball and bring the point ball back to the goal first, right? That's the one that has to come in. So they're not actively allowed to push any ball besides the point ball into the goal, right? And obviously the seconds are laid out there as far as faulting goes. If say they go out and push a different ball in. Obviously, there on the bottom where you see it says that no fault is incurred if a ball other than the point ball rolls into the goal before the point ball, if the dog is not actively pushing it, right? So to continue on just reading that sentence, an example of this would be a non-point ball rolling into the goal from the initial break, but the dog never touched anything other than the point ball. If he hits the point ball and that point ball hits another ball and that ball rolls in on accident, then no fault is incurred, right? So does that make sense? And it's pretty straightforward with everybody there. Obviously, we don't want in pre-novice and novice things to get too easy. So if you're just taking seconds off and then not sections, right? We're not taking, while pre-novice gets 5 seconds and novice doesn't get 10 sections.
Might kidding. Be a little typo on that. Maybe have to fix that.
Yeah, so that and it still encourages us at those lower levels to keep going. If your dog goes out and rolls back the wrong ball, don't stop, right? If you're in pre-novice, you can get them to stop and get it back out there. Keep going.
Yeah.
Right. Put the dog, get the ball back out. You know, roll that puppy back out and get back out there and try and bring the point ball in like you were trying the first time.
Yep.
So
this is not this isn't for balls in order though. This would just be for the regular game, right?
So this will qualify for balls in order also.
Right.
The second one where no fault is incurred if another ball comes in.
So
Is
on
it
the
a wrong
point
ball?
ball, yep, on the point ball, if an incorrect ball comes in before which any ball is incorrect if it comes in before the point ball,
Right.
they do have to send it back out, but they don't take a fault for it.
Okay.
They just have to send it back out. And that will actually happen mostly in the novice, maybe intermediate. Typically, if the dog hasn't actually pushed something other than the point ball, other balls won't come in at the advanced and expert because they're so far out. Even though there's more balls, they're so far out. We usually see that more at the novice and intermediate. But yeah, they don't take that fault if something comes in before the point ball that they didn't push.
Okay.
In balls in order.
Okay.
Okay.
Chris, I think
Yeah,
I'm confused. For
Okay.
standard, if the dog pushes a non-point ball in first, do I send it back out again, the ball out again? Or do I just let, at pre-novice or novice, do I let them just bring the other two balls in?
And we're in standard. So just to be clear, we're in standard and the dog actively pushes in something besides the point ball. The run will be faulted in pre-novice, novice, and intermediate, but it's not an NQ. They just brought the wrong ball in first. No, you do not need to send it back out.
Okay. I didn't
Okay.
think so, but I wasn't, based on the discussion, I was getting unclear.
Yeah, right. So is everybody okay? Because this gets a little, especially telling the difference between standard and balls in order.
So in balls in order, you would have to roll the point ball back out, right?
If in balls in order, in balls in order, if the dog brings if the dog brings in an incorrect or does not bring in the point ball first,
wrong ball.
Yeah, they're going to have to send that ball back out. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Are we good? Because this does get dicey comparing the two games. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So this one, now I'm quickly scanning to see if any typos in that, any more sections instead of seconds. So this is where in judging we had a lot of, what do we do about that? When the initial formation is disturbed, what happens? You send the dog out and the dog bumps a ball. It's going to depend on whether the judge sees it as intentional or unintentional. If the dog goes out and causes movement of the non-point balls before getting around to the point ball, then it's intentional ball movement, and there are the penalties, as you see, 5, 10, 20, 30, and 40 seconds. Intentional is something that looks meaningful. They hit it with their head, a leg, or a paw with the intent to move. And by the time they get up to that expert level, we consider it a pretty big deal, 40 seconds. You know, if your dog comes around and they hit a ball. And we also went further, you know, I think the old rules said if the ball is dislodged. And that actually stumped us. Well, because this happened, dog would go out and they'd bump a ball, but the ball would roll right back into its correct position. Happened more when you know, they bumped it hard enough to rock it, but it would still, and you could tell it's still on the ring, but you saw the ball move. Or you know, so like Eric, they play on dirt, and you'd see the ball, it'd move big time, but it'd roll right back into the place where it was. And well, then it wasn't dislodged because it went back to the same place. Yeah, but the dog hit it. We see it move. So we went for, if we see movement, The dog hits it and we see movement. I don't care if it rolls back into the same position where it was before. They hit something other than the point ball. It's going to be intentional ball movement, and they're going to get those penalties. As compared with an unintentional disturbance, and that's going to be when the dog goes by. You might see the tail hit it. You can tell the dog's running by. You see a ball move, but it could have been the shoulder, maybe the hip bumped it, but there was no intent to move it. They just sliced it really tight, and we're going to call that unintentional ball movement. No penalty in pre-novice, novice and intermediate 5 seconds. I see the word master again. Advanced and expert will be 10 seconds, and it's all under the judge makes that determination of whether they see it as intentional or unintentional. So again, we're hoping that clarifies things by defining at least a little better what's intentional, what's unintentional, or at least what criteria we're trying to use to decide that, and also what qualifies as movement. That really means if we saw that ball move, something happened. So we have to do something. Make sense?
I like it.
I think you can
I
tell all
thought it
these
was
things.
generous that on expert, an intentional move was not an NQ.
We discussed that a lot. Does anybody want to comment on how we ended up going with 40 instead of NQ? Because we debated, trust me, we
Well, wouldn't this be the situation where you've been able to stop and redirect the dog? That shows a lot of training and control and, an expert level training. But we definitely wanted to ding them because we want the point ball to be solid.
right.
How's that sound?
Right. I think, yeah. And I do. I think that's very much where the discussion went. It is a big deal. Your dog's pushing something and you stop them and redirect them. That's a lot of excellent training. So, okay, well, maybe we'll let that go, but by golly, it's a big deal. So we hit it hard. Eric, Margaret, do you?
No, yeah, I agree.
I mean, I think that's that's pretty well where the discussion went.
Yeah, I mean, there's the criteria. There's got to be some good criteria. So.
Okay. And I think, yeah, that was the last slide. That was the last thing. Anybody have any questions about the rules, about the changes, how things are judged?
Nope.
Cool beans.
Apparently, I've asked you lots and lots of questions already. Outside of this conversation, there's been a lot of questions.
I came in late, and I guess I missed the pre-novice. Can we go back to that for a second?
Yes.
And maybe you already hit on some of the questions that have already come up with the new pre-novice.
Yeah. Right. I think your slides have caught up now.
Ah, yes.
There we are. I'm learning.
Oh, this is a pretty slide.
Lots of little pickles.
So we had some questions about treating in pre-novice, and do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Even though that was only just a couple days ago, or maybe yesterday, I'd forgotten about it. Pre-novice does still, of course, permit treats or playing with toys, and it does need to be in the handler box or the goal area. Someone had made a reference to, and someone had made a reference to, I think it was on the Facebook group. They treated their dog after the third ball came in, but before they downed their dog, and they were afraid it was a fault. And the answer is no. If the ball rolls in, third ball, doesn't matter. You can give your dog a cookie. And what you can't do is you can't lure the dog. You can't lure them into the box or lure them into the down. Then you're going to get a fault for it. So whether it doesn't matter. You could treat, even though we've gone to 3-ball configuration instead of 1 ball at a time, you can treat in between each one of those balls whenever you feel it's appropriate that your dog needs reinforcement, as long as it looks like to us as judges that you're reinforcing, not luring. And the treating does need to happen in those 2 boxes. I think we had a question, and this might be what you're referring to also, Monica, is somebody was filming, and it was very clear that right as they stepped on the line, they were putting a cookie in the dog's mouth. And we really had to say, you know what? You had cookie out, you're reinforcing before you're in that box. You had that cookie out. And one of the big things is we really want, I know on your own field, it doesn't matter, but the whole idea is we want the cookies contained in that small area instead of anywhere on the field. And so we really had to say, well, you were starting to reinforcement. You had cookies out before you were in that handler area and goal area. So really wanted to clarify where you can use treats. And you can use them at any point in that when you're in that box or boxes, but you can't lure the dog around. Is that what you were talking?
Yeah, and just the one other thing that we kind of left in the wording of treating in between each ball, but we didn't. But so that makes it sound like it would be incorrect to treat before the initial send. But what I think you're going to rule is that you can actually treat before the first send as long as it's in the handler area or the goal, right?
Right.
So
again, that was some wording that kind of hung over from the revision, but the idea, or from the other rules, but the idea is yes, it's appropriate to reinforce your dog. You know when your dog needs to be reinforced in the pre-novice level. So yes.
Great, thank you.
Good. Glad you brought that up. I'd kind of forgotten about that. Okay. All right. Anybody else got stuff?
Just want to say you guys have done a lot of work, and I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. So we originally thought we had this ready to come out in June. And this is why this chat is now taking place in December, because we thought we'd have it, and we'd have more runs come in, and we'd have discussions, go, wow, this is still just not there. It's still just not there. And between Susan and Eric and Margaret and we had so many talks. It often felt like beating a dead horse. It really did. Like, oh, why are we not there yet? So it took a while.
Well, that's because every time we figured it out, somebody asked a question.
I know.
And you're like, oh, darn it, that's a good question. All right, well, let's think this out.
You're right, that's not quite there yet. So yeah, a lot of discussion on this. And we're hoping, because we're going to tease here a little, we are getting a new game very close to come out. We're getting there. We've flushed out a lot of it. We're starting to actually write up the rules and make some sample videos and hopefully some training tips of videos. So yeah, just a hint, it's coming. Just a teaser. We won't tell anything more.
That's like a radio tease.
Wait, just don't go anywhere. anybody else have any other questions? See, Mary Ann and Suzanne have joined us. Yay.
Well, I just realized why you guys were so far along when I logged in at 4:02 because it started at 3:30. Whoops. Sorry, or 7:30 or
Yeah,
6:30, wherever you are.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Monica. At 3:30. Yep, that's exactly right.
Yeah, exactly. At least I have a few people now that are in Pacific time zone too with me. Hey, we got 3 of us on here. 3
That's right.
Pacific time.
I know.
We're almost in the majority.
Oh,
Well, thank you all for all this good work.
thank
And I
you.
hope we can get back to playing soon.
Ugh, me too.
That's such a fact. Such a fact.
Yeah.
I really want to. I'm hoping for 2021 we can actually pull off that live trial.
Yes.
Frankly, we
so
got
close.
really close. We got really close. Stupid COVID.
Yeah, I agree. Stupid COVID.
Well, I'm an old person, so I'll get my vaccine, so I could come. You may just have old people there. What can I say? Old people with old dogs.
That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Hey, if we get a live trial, we will welcome anybody there.
That's right. Just show up. Come on.
Yeah, geez. We'll be so happy that it's finally happening.
Yeah.
I'll be an old person with a young dog.
That you can come too. Whoever you are.
Harriet,
Yeah.
how far are you from Chris?
Oh, I'm close. I'm an hour and a half.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that's so
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah. That's very close. That's just almost
that's
around the corner.
That's
Different
next
time
door.
zone, however.
There is that. Yeah.
So where might this trial be occurring?
Oh, the Indianapolis area.
Okay, well, I bought a new retirement present to myself, a used motorhome.
Oh.
And so I might, if I don't have a dog that could play right now, but if we get it in shape, I might hop in and be there.
That would be great. That would be so cool. Of course, everybody's invited.
It'd be a little far.
I don't know. Seattle's a stone's throw away, right?
Yeah. You got to plan ahead and start early.
That's like a pilgrimage.
Chris,
Yeah.
we can't host it till mid-April.
Yep.
Yeah.
Think about how much.
Why, Sandy? Oh, I know why.
Chase won't
Never
be a
mind.
year old.
She has a
Yeah.
puppy. Yeah, we have to. All right, I can work with that. Totally.
Just thinking about how much planning went into that live trial, and you were just like, got it all ready and set, and now you can't do it for a year, maybe more. Oh man.
So it goes.
What a year.
We'll recover.
Yeah.
We will recover. Have that
What
trial.
a year.
It'll be fun. And there won't be any rosettes on the ribbons. Sorry. Not the first year. Anybody else getting close? Think they might be able to pull off a trial? I heard rumors on the West Coast. You guys, maybe somebody would.
I mean, yeah. There's where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
And we've got quite a little following up there, and Lisa's taken off down there.
Cool,
Holy
babe.
Moses. Of course, it's it's December, which means it gets dark at like 4 o'clock.
Yeah, here
But
too. Yeah.
All right. Well, next year maybe we'll have 2 live trials.
yeah,
Great.
that'd be fun to get one on each coast.
Yeah.
Yeah, Indianapolis is the coast, right, Chris?
Yeah.
Well, basically.
It depends on who you ask.
But close
Yeah,
enough from Wyoming, anything east of Nebraska is the coast.
It's all about perspective.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah,
Awesome.
it's better than a day trip for us to get, well, and I'm not counting the Great Lakes, to get to an ocean beach. It's well better than a day trip.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Well, you guys, thank you so much for all this hard work.
thank you.
The pretty diagrams.
Yes,
And
thank you.
Hopefully, we'll see how judging goes. I've already had my one time where I've said, yeah, that worked. That helped. So
cool.
hopefully it keeps going.
Cool beans.
All right. Thank you guys for all
Awesome.
coming.
Yep.
Okay, see
Thank
you. Bye-bye.
you.
Great
Thanks,
question.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
See you tomorrow, Chris.
Bye. Yes.